The jungle breathes at night. You can hear it, this slow, wet rhythm like lungs filling and emptying. And somewhere in that breathing, there's something else, something hunting you. Or maybe you're hunting it. After a while, you can't tell the difference. Sergeant Thomas Reed, 173rd Airborne Brigade, Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol, sniper. I spent 13 months in the jungle, most of it alone or with one spotter, waiting in the dark for targets that might never come, watching, listening, becoming part of the breathing. I'm from rural Montana, town so small it didn't have a name, just a post office and a gas station. My old man was a logger, taught me to hunt before I could read. Elk, deer, whatever was in season. Taught me patience, taught me to wait, taught me that the animal that moves first is the animal that dies. Didn't know I was learning to be a sniper. Thought I was just learning to put food on the table. Got drafted in 1967, 19 years old. Could have tried for deferment. I was working the timber with my father, essential industry. But everyone else from town was going. My best friend Tommy had already enlisted. Seemed wrong to stay behind while others fought. Seems stupid now. Tommy got killed at Dak To. Never even saw who shot him. Just a bullet from the jungle and he was gone. I went through basic at Fort Benning. They saw my marksman scores and pulled me aside. You ever think about sniper school? No, I hadn't. Didn't even know the Army had snipers. But they showed me the training program, the equipment, the mission profile. Long-range reconnaissance, operating behind enemy lines. Days or weeks in the jungle, no support, just you and your rifle and whatever you could carry. Find the enemy, report their positions, and sometimes, when the target was high value enough, eliminate them. It sounded better than humping through the jungle with an infantry platoon, more independent, more like hunting back home. I was wrong about that, too. Sniper school was 3 months at Fort Benning. Marksmanship, fieldcraft, camouflage, stalking, range estimation, ballistics. They taught us to shoot from 1,000 yards, taught us to read wind and humidity and how a bullet drops over distance, taught us to be invisible, to become part of the landscape, to wait for days without moving. They didn't teach us what it feels like to watch a man through a scope for hours, learning his habits, his mannerisms, the way he smokes his cigarettes, and then kill him. They didn't teach us what it does to you to be alone in the jungle for weeks, to stop thinking in words, to start thinking like an animal, to become what you hunt. You learn that in Vietnam, or you die. Or worse, you come home and realize you're still in the jungle, still hunting, still waiting in the dark for targets that never come. I got to Vietnam in January 1968. Tet Offensive hit 3 weeks later. Everything went to hell. But that's not what I remember most. I remember the jungle, the green hell that never ended, the humidity that rotted your boots and your skin, the sounds at night, animals, insects, enemy soldiers, your own imagination, all mixed together until you couldn't tell them apart. And the waiting, always the waiting. That's what being a sniper is. Not the shooting, that's the easy part. It's the waiting. My first mission was February 68, 5-day reconnaissance patrol in the Central Highlands. Me and my spotter, a kid from Alabama named Dalton. 20 years old, sharp eyes, steady hands, good guy to have watching your back. We inserted at dusk. Helicopter dropped us 3 clicks from our patrol area and disappeared. Suddenly it was just us and the jungle. No backup, no support. Just radio silence unless we had something to report or things went completely sideways. The jungle at night is different from the jungle during the day. During the day, it's oppressive, thick canopy blocking out the sun, humidity like breathing through a wet towel, green everywhere, so much green your eyes start playing tricks. But at night it comes alive. We found a position on a ridgeline overlooking a trail. NVA were using it to move supplies south. That's what intelligence said. Our job was to confirm, count their numbers, report their movements. And if we got a shot at a high-value target, officer, political cadre, anyone important, take it. We set up in the brush about 60 meters from the trail, cleared fields of fire without clearing too much, had to stay invisible, laid out our gear carefully, everything within reach, everything silent. One wrong sound and we'd be dead. Then we waited. Night fell fast in the jungle. 1 minute it's dim twilight. Next minute it's absolute darkness. Can't see your hand in front of your face. Just sounds. The breathing of the jungle. Insects. Birds. Something moving in the brush that might be a monkey or might be a soldier. We took turns on watch. 4 hours on, 4 hours off. The night vision scope helped, but it turned everything into this grainy green nightmare. Shapes that might be trees or might be men. Shadows that moved or maybe didn't. Around 200, I heard voices. Vietnamese. Whispered, but clear. Coming up the trail. I tapped Dalton. He was already awake. We both went still, not frozen. That's different, just absent, like we weren't there, like we were part of the hillside. 4 soldiers came into view. NVA regulars carrying AKS and packs. Supply porters, probably. Not high-value targets. We let them pass. Then more. 10, 20. A whole platoon, moving in column formation, quiet and disciplined. These weren't guerrillas. These were professional soldiers. I ranged them through my scope. 200 yards. Easy shot. But our orders were reconnaissance. No contact unless necessary. Shooting would give away our position, compromise the mission. So I watched. Counted. Noted the time, their heading, their equipment. Dalton was writing it all down in his notepad, tiny script by red-filtered flashlight. 47 soldiers passed us that night. We remained invisible. They never knew we were there. Never knew that death was watching them from 60 meters away. That's when I started understanding what being a sniper really meant. It's not about killing. It's about presence. About being there, watching, knowing you could kill, but choosing when. You become a ghost. You become death itself, just waiting to happen. We stayed in that position for 5 days, watched hundreds of soldiers pass, called in airstrikes on their staging areas, never fired a shot, never revealed ourselves. On day 6, they extracted us, said we'd done good work, said the intelligence we'd gathered helped target a major supply route. I didn't feel good about it. Didn't feel bad either. Just felt empty. Hollow. Like something important had been scraped out of me during those 5 days in the dark. The killing started on my 4th mission, late April. We were set up near the Cambodian border watching a trail intersection. High-value targets confirmed in the area. NVA regimental commander and his staff. Dalton spotted them through the spotting scope. I've got officers. 4 of them. 230 meters. I settled behind my rifle. Winchester Model 70, .3006 caliber, fitted with a Redfield scope. Not fancy like the equipment snipers use now, but it did the job. I'd zeroed it myself, knew exactly how it shot. I found them in my scope. 4 men in NVA officer uniforms gathered around a map, smoking, talking, planning whatever operation they were planning. One man stood out. Older, more medals, others deferred to him. The commander. Range 230, wind 3 knots left to right, humidity 90%, Dalton whispered, giving me the data. I adjusted for distance and wind. Put the crosshairs on the commander's chest. Controlled my breathing. Slow, steady. Waiting for the moment between heartbeats when the rifle was perfectly still. I squeezed the trigger. The rifle bucked. Through the scope, I saw the commander jerk, saw the red mist, saw him fall. The others scattered, confused, looking for the threat. They never found us. Good hit. Dalton confirmed. Target down. We displaced immediately. Never stay after a shot. Move to secondary position, watch for trackers, be ready to evade. That was my first kill in Vietnam. A man I'd never met, never spoke to, never would have recognized on the street. Just a target in a scope. Center mass, squeezed, dead. I didn't feel anything. That's what bothered me. Shouldn't I feel something? Guilt, remorse, pride, something? Nothing, just emptiness. The kills added up. 6 confirmed by June, 15 by August, 23 by October. Officers, supply sergeants, a political commissar, a sniper from the other side. That was a personal one. He'd killed 2 Americans. We tracked him for 3 days before I got a shot. I learned to read people through the scope. Learned to tell who was dangerous and who was just a conscript trying to survive. Learned to identify targets by their posture, their confidence, how others treated them. Learned to watch a man for hours before killing him. Watch him eat, smoke, laugh with his friends. Watch him be human, then watch him die. The jungle became my home. Felt more comfortable there than in base camp. Out in the dark, alone with Dalton, waiting for targets, that made sense. The rules were clear, them or us, kill or be killed. Back in base, nothing made sense. People talking about football and girls and going home. Couldn't relate, couldn't participate. I belonged in the jungle now. October 1968, we got compromised. An NVA patrol stumbled onto our position. We'd been there 4 days, completely concealed, hadn't moved. But somehow they knew. Maybe we'd left a sign. Maybe they'd tracked us. Maybe just bad luck. They came at dawn, maybe 20 soldiers. We were outnumbered 10-1. Dalton saw them first. Contact, multiple enemy. We need to move, now. We grabbed essential gear and ran. They opened fire, rounds snapping through the jungle, hitting trees, kicking up dirt. We ran harder. Dalton took a hit, right calf, went down hard. I pulled him up, threw his arm over my shoulder. We kept moving. More fire. Closer, they were gaining. We made it maybe 500 meters before Dalton couldn't run anymore. Too much blood, too much pain. He was slowing us down, and we both knew it. Leave me, he said. Call in extraction for yourself. Fuck that. I found a defensible position. Fallen tree, good sight lines. Set him down, gave him my .45. You shoot anything that comes through that gap. I'll handle the rest. I found a position 30 meters away, set up the rifle. Waited. They came careful, spread out. Good tactics. But they didn't know where we were exactly. Didn't know they were walking into a sniper's kill zone. I took the point man first. Center mass. He dropped. The others scattered, went to ground. Smart. But I had the high ground. Had the scope. Had the training. Picked them off one by one. Took 15 minutes. Killed 7. The rest withdrew. We called in extraction. Got out. Dalton survived. Lost part of his calf, but survived. They medevaced him to Japan, then back to the States. I never saw him again. They gave me a new spotter. Kid named Williams from New York. Good kid. Lasted 3 weeks before he stepped on a mine. Died instantly. His blood and pieces of him ended up on me. I wore it for 2 days before we got back to base, and I could wash it off. The next spotter was Martinez. Made it 2 months before he got malaria. Medevaxed out. Then Johnson. Then Parker. Then names I don't remember anymore because what was the point of remembering? I stopped getting close to people. Stopped learning names. They were just spotters. Just tools to help me do the job. When they died or got wounded or rotated out, they got replaced. The mission continued. By December, I was doing solo missions, no spotter. Just me and the jungle and the targets. Command didn't like it. Snipers are supposed to work in pairs. But I was effective. My kill count kept rising. They made an exception. Solo was better anyway. Nobody to worry about. Nobody to get killed. Nobody to remember. Just me and the rifle and the night. The jungle became my element. I could move through it silently, invisible, like I was part of it. Could lie in wait for days without moving, without eating, barely breathing. Became something more animal than human. The NVA started calling me something. I heard it from prisoners. White Ghost, Death in the Jungle. Names that meant they knew someone was out there hunting them, but they couldn't find me. Good. Fear is a weapon, too. By March 1969, I had 47 confirmed kills. Top sniper in the brigade. They wanted to write articles about me, take photos, make me a hero for the folks back home. I declined. Heroes die. Ghosts survive. But I wasn't surviving. Not really. I was disappearing. Becoming less human with each kill. Each night in the jungle. Each day without speaking, without thinking in words, without being anything but the thing that hunts. I stopped dreaming. Stopped feeling. Stopped being Thomas Reed from Montana, who used to hunt elk with his father. Became something else. Something that belonged to the jungle. Something that couldn't leave. The breaking point came on my last mission. April 1969. Solo patrol, 7 days, deep in NVA territory. Looking for a high-value target. Colonel, unit commander, intelligence gold if we could eliminate him. I found him on day 5. He was camped with his staff in a clearing. Security was tight, but I found a position 800 meters away, elevated, perfect sight line. I watched him for a day, studied his routine. When he slept, when he ate, when he was most vulnerable. Professional assessment, just like always. But this time was different. This time I saw more than a target. I saw him reading letters. Saw him looking at photographs. Wife, maybe. Children, probably. Saw him smile at something in the letter. Saw him carefully fold it and put it back in his pocket, close to his heart. I saw him be human. And I realized something. I'd killed 47 men, watched them through a scope, learned their habits, ended their lives. But I'd never really seen them as human. They were just targets. Just enemy combatants, just things to eliminate. But this man, reading his letters, missing his family, trying to survive a war just like I was trying to survive, he was human, just like me. Just like every man I'd killed. And I was going to kill him anyway. I ranged him. Adjusted for wind and distance. Put the crosshairs on his chest. Right where the letters were in his pocket. Right where his heart was beating. Controlled my breathing, finger on the trigger. All I had to do was squeeze. I couldn't do it. Not because of conscience. Not because of morality. I couldn't do it because I'd stopped being human, and suddenly I remembered what being human meant. And if I pulled that trigger, if I killed this man who loved his family and wrote letters and smiled at photographs, I would never get it back. I would stay a ghost forever. I released the trigger. Packed up my rifle, called for extraction a day early. Said I couldn't get a clean shot. Lied in my report. They pulled me out, sent me back to base. I had 3 weeks left on my tour. Should have been easy. Just run out the clock, go home. But I couldn't do it. Couldn't be around people. Couldn't be in base camp with the noise and the voices in the world that wasn't the jungle. I'd been alone too long. Been in the dark too long. Been the hunter too long. I requested to go back out. Solo mission. Just me in the jungle one more time, and they approved it. Sent me out for 5 days. I found a hide position and just existed. Didn't hunt, didn't watch for targets. Just sat in the jungle, breathing with it, being part of it, trying to figure out who I was if I wasn't the ghost. Never figured it out. They extracted me, flew me to Saigon, processed me out, put me on a plane to the States. 13 months in Vietnam, 47 confirmed kills, enough medals to make my dress uniform heavy. I left Vietnam in May 1969, but part of me never left. Part of me is still in the jungle, still waiting in the dark, still hunting. Coming home was harder than combat. At least in the jungle, I knew what I was. knew my purpose. In Montana, I didn't know anything. My father picked me up from the airport. We drove 2 hours back to our town in silence. He didn't ask about Vietnam. I didn't tell him. What could I say? That I'd become something that lived in the dark and killed men from 800 meters away? That I couldn't sleep in a house anymore because walls felt like traps? That I'd forgotten how to be his son? I tried to work the timber, lasted a week, couldn't handle the noise. Chainsaws sounded like gunfire, made me dive for cover. The other loggers looked at me like I was crazy. Maybe I was. I tried hunting with my father like we used to. He took me for elk in the mountains. We found a herd. I ranged them, judged the wind, put the crosshairs on a big bull, and I saw the NVA colonel reading his letters. I lowered the rifle, couldn't pull the trigger. My father looked at me, confused. The elk wandered away. "What happened to you over there?" he asked. "I became a good hunter," I said. He didn't understand. Nobody did. I started sleeping outside, couldn't handle being inside buildings. Set up a tent behind my father's house and lived there. Winter came, Montana winter, 30 below zero. Didn't matter. Outside was better than inside. Dark was better than light. Alone was better than around people. I'd been home 3 months when the nightmares started. Not about killing, about being hunted, about the jungle breathing around me and something in the darkness, something I couldn't see, tracking me, following me, waiting for me to make a mistake. The thing I'd become, the ghost, it was hunting me now. I started drinking. Couldn't hunt, couldn't work, couldn't sleep, couldn't function. Just drank and sat outside in the dark and waited for something I couldn't name. My father tried to help, got me to the VA. They had a name for what I had, post-traumatic stress disorder, had treatment options, therapy, medication, support groups. I went to one support group, bunch of vets sitting in a circle talking about their experiences. One guy talked about a firefight, another about watching his friend die. They wanted me to share. I couldn't tell them. Couldn't explain what it's like to watch a man for days before killing him. To become something that lives in the dark. To lose yourself so completely that you can't find your way back. They wanted war stories. I didn't have war stories. I had silence, darkness, the breathing of the jungle, the weight of 47 ghosts. I left Montana in 1972. Couldn't stay. Too many memories of who I used to be. Drifted around, day jobs, night jobs, nothing that required commitment, nothing that required connection, just existing, surviving, waiting. I'm 54 years old now. It's been 30 years since Vietnam. I've had relationships that failed, jobs that didn't last, homes I left. I never stayed anywhere long enough to put down roots. Never got close enough to anyone to let them see what's inside. Because what's inside isn't Thomas Reed from Montana, who used to hunt with his father. What's inside is the white ghost from the jungle. The thing that lived in the dark and killed men and stopped being human. Some nights I still hear it, the jungle breathing, the slow, wet rhythm of life and death mixed together. And I know something's out there in the darkness, something hunting me, something I became and can't escape. My father died in 1988, heart attack. I came back for the funeral, stood at his grave and tried to feel something. Grief, loss, anything. Nothing, just emptiness, like when I killed the first target. Like when I killed the last one I couldn't kill, just hollow. People ask me about Vietnam sometimes, want to know what it was like being a sniper, want war stories, want to know what it feels like to kill a man. I don't answer, can't explain. How do you tell someone that killing wasn't the hard part? The hard part was becoming something that could kill without feeling. something that lived alone in the dark, something that stopped being human. You can't explain that. You just live with it. Or you don't live with it. A lot of guys from my unit didn't make it. Suicide, overdose, accidents that maybe weren't accidents. The jungle killed them years after they left it. Maybe it's killing me too, just slower, quieter. The way a sniper kills, patient, methodical, waiting for the right moment. I'm still in the jungle, still alone in the dark, still watching, still waiting, still hunting something I can never catch, still being hunted by something I can never escape. The jungle breathes at night. I can still hear it. 30 years gone and I can still hear it. That slow, wet rhythm, life and death, hunter and hunted, human and ghost. I don't know which one I am anymore. Maybe I'm both. Maybe I'm neither. Maybe I'm just something that the jungle made and the jungle kept. Something that came home but never left. Something that's still out there in the dark, waiting. Still waiting, always waiting. The animal that moves first is the animal that dies. So I don't move. I just wait in the darkness, still waiting for something that will never come. Still being the thing I became and can't stop being. Still in the jungle, still breathing with it, still part of it, forever.